This is the first episode of the new year. My oh my, did last year go by quickly? I don't really know what happened. I feel like I blinked and it went from being the start of 2025 to now 2026. So, yeah, I mean, that's just a testament to how jam packed the year was, full of stuff, full of growth, full of, you know, as many opportunities as there were and as many wins as there were equal failures and equal hurdles that I had to go through. And I'm sure that can be said for a lot of people. So, yeah, it was a good year. It was good to reflect on that. And even if you didn't have a good year, remember that this year is a new year and it could be a new year of change and improvement and autonomy for you. But just remember that the year doesn't change because the calendar changes. The year changes because you decide to change. So all the power is in your hands. And like I always say, we are the catalyst for our own success. So I'm currently in Malta. I'm in St. Julian's in Malta in Europe. It's my first time in Europe. I just got back from Greece as well. So I flew into Malta. I went from Perth to Doha to Malta, spent a few days in Malta. I went to Greece on Christmas Day. So I flew to Greece on the 25th of December, stayed in Athens for 5 days, got to check out a bunch of cool stuff. I went to the Acropolis, the Temple of Poseidon. I went to Delphi, saw the Oracle, what's it called, the Sanctuary of, oh God, I can't even remember. Don't worry about that. But I went to some cool places, saw some very cool stuff, and I'm back in Malta, and I'm flying to Sicily in Italy tonight, which is going to be really cool. I'm gonna eat some more awesome food, which has definitely been the highlight of Europe for me so far. Just eating all this amazing food. So grateful to be able to have a mouth and an esophagus and a stomach. It's one of the joys of life. So yeah, that's me at the moment. And while I'm here in Europe, I've got a skeleton crew running in the business back home because we are currently closed for the holiday break, but we do have a skeleton crew. I just looked at payroll because I've got my VA working through the break just to obviously stay on top of timesheets and run payroll and do the accounting. And I looked at payroll and I've still got 15 employees working, which is, it's quite a hefty skeleton crew. I thought we were maybe going to have like 6 or 7 people working. And I looked at payroll. It's like, yeah, 15 people are still going. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. But anyway, while I'm away in Europe, I'm pretty much getting paid to be here by my business that is technically closed. So that's a crazy thing. And also it's paying Stacey to be away. So our manager, she's on leave. And despite paying her leave and despite me being away and despite being closed, we're still profiting, which is just insane. And I'm very, very grateful and very fortunate to be in the position I am and have a business that can do what it does. So maybe for a lot of people listening to this, that might be your goal for this year. You want to finally get your business to a point where you can step away from it and you can do these things and you can claim that autonomy, because it is one of the great aspects and one of the great benefits of having a business. When you finally hit that nail on the head and when you get that perfect harmony of automation and delegation and also leadership as well, which I might talk about a bit in this episode. Sorry, I just dropped my little microphone. That probably wasn't too nice on your ears. I'm not sure. I don't have my normal setup, obviously, because I'm in a different continent. So I don't even know if the microphone's on. Let me check. Okay, it seems to be. So I'm hoping that you could hear me talking. Otherwise, this is going to be a waste of 10 to 15 minutes and I'll have to redo it, which happens a lot, by the way. I've done so many episodes where I've talked for like 30 minutes and then realized that the microphone wasn't even on. But then it's like, I just get to do another take and it's going to be perfect because I just regurgitate everything I just said in a more polished way. So it's like, in every failure, there is an equivalent opportunity. That's a quote I love. And yeah, I'm just rambling a bit now. So anyway, it's a new year. Even if you're not listening to this in the new year, if you're listening to this like midway through a year, doesn't matter. We're going to talk about some principles that you can carry with you through any time of the year or any time in general. So, yeah, it's the year, or it's the time of New Year's resolutions. It's the time of people saying they're going to finally change their ways because the calendar has rolled over, which has always been a silly concept to me, because if something is so important that it needs to be changed, you would have just done it before. You wouldn't have waited for a new year or a clean slate, because it doesn't make a difference. And it's like, that's why the gyms get busy around this time of year, because everyone has their New Year's resolution to get fit or drop a bunch of weight, and then they stick to it for 2 weeks and they're like, oh, this is hard. I don't want to do this anymore. And same thing with business. People get into business, they think it's going to be easy. They look at what the finish line could look like, and having money and autonomy and success, and then they do it and they're like, ugh, this isn't worth it. I'm not making any money. I'm working hard. I'm not seeing my friends and family as much as I want to. I'm just going to go back to my job. It's just not worth it. So it's the time for all that. But if you got your head screwed on right, then you're not going to pay any mind to that, and you're going to recognize and realize that the new year is only going to change if you do. So there's a few things that you should probably be focusing on this year. And I think the same can be said for everyone. Like myself, I'm going to be focusing on these things. And I think even if you're at the start of your journey, or if you haven't even started your journey yet, then these things will still be super, super important for you. So I think I talked about how I was reading a book called Outwitting the Devil. Very abstract book, very, very odd in some ways, but it talks a lot about drifting and definitive purpose, which I really, really like. And it kind of gave me a couple of epiphanies just about things I do in my own life, where I tend to drift a little bit, and I'm not in this like hypnotic rhythm of definitive purpose and just higher level thinking. And it just got me thinking about that. And I realized that there were a lot of things I was doing subconsciously in my business that were actually really good. And on the contrary, there were things I was doing subconsciously that were really bad and putting me in this negative cycle. So that'll be a bit of a theme in this episode. The year does not change because the calendar did. This year changes if you do. Not because you're more motivated, not because you wrote your goals down in a notebook, which is, it's great, but most people don't follow through with them. And it's not because you have aspirations. It's not because you feel any different to last year, but it's because you start to operate differently. Okay, so motivation is emotional, but discipline is structural. That's something I want you to recognize and understand. Motivation, it's an emotional feeling. People usually feel motivated after having a period of stress or anxiety or hardship, but then they lack the discipline that they need to actually pull themselves out of that or get them to where they want to go. And discipline is a form of structure. It is achieved through frameworks, both mentally and physically. And so if motivation works, like everyone will be successful by now. It's just not enough to get you to where you want to be. I think motivation is a bit of a fallacy as well, because like everyone should be motivated. There's no reason that you should be unmotivated. If you're not motivated to do really well in business, then I would assume that you're mega, mega rich and wealthy and completely purpose-driven and fulfilled, and you have, a spring in your step every morning when you wake up, and you just have, it's just not, it doesn't work like that. I think motivation is a bit of a fallacy. But anyway, we're going to talk about how you can channel that motivation and actually form discipline and form structured discipline, how you can create systems that are going to help you win this year or any point in time if you're not listening to this in the new year, and why consistency is going to beat intensity. So not just working hard and running like a hamster on the wheel for the first few months trying to set yourself up for the rest of the year, but why just consistent, like timed and calculated moves and actions are really going to get you to where you need to be, rather than just intensity and pace and just trying to get things done no matter what. Like action's good, but it's timed and calculated action that really, really has an effect. Because most business owners don't quit per se, but they just get so burned out doing what they do that they eventually just kind of lower their standards. Like they start letting their prices fall when they're not getting the clients they want to get, and they feel that they're struggling. They feel there's resistance in their pricing structure and their quotes, and they're getting lots of no's. They start to let their prices fall behind, and their costs begin to catch up to their prices. If they have staff, they avoid having hard conversations with staff. They stop following up for quotes. Like the hunger you have when you first start a business versus like even 1 or 2 years down the track, like it's completely different. You stop having that hunger for following up on quotes, and you just start accepting chaos as normal because you've been doing it for so long. So most people don't quit. They just lower their standards, and eventually the flame of the business just fades away. It extinguishes, and then that's when you cease. That's when the business ceases to exist. It's not because someone made a conscious decision to be like, this is enough. I've had enough. This is too much. I'm done. It's usually because they lower their standards and they slowly drift away into obscurity. So a big thing for this year is just going to be about raising your standards. There's really 3 decisions that I want myself and everyone listening to this make. And number 1, it's really going to be raising your standards. So not just like raising your goals, like having more ambitious goals or thinking about how you want to do things differently, but really raising your standards. Because you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. Or I'm going to say that again. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. Examples of this could be like your minimum profit that you want to make for a clean, or your minimum client quality, or your minimum client criteria. If they don't tick all of these boxes, you won't do business with them. Things like that. Minimum performance you will tolerate for a staff, like setting up clear metrics and parameters and KPIs for employees and making sure they're hitting those benchmarks. Otherwise, they don't hit that standard and they're not, they can't be kept around. They need to have like a performance improvement plan. They need to do better, because we can't just continue to accept the same low standards and just accept that as normal and accept that as being the way it is, and like, oh, it is what it is. Like, we just have to make do in this business, in this industry, in this time. Okay, so number 1, raise your standards. I'm going to be raising my standards. I know I can. I know that there's a lot of room for improvement, so I'm going to be doing the same thing. And number 2, decide what you're done with. All right, just decide what you're going to be saying no to. Decide what things you're going to be deleting, getting rid of off your plate, and just being done with this year. Like, just, look at these things. And, I think I've talked about this before as well with Apple and Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs used to round up all of his high-level executives and his CTOs and his project managers, and he would get them in a room and he'd have meetings with them every week and every month. And he'd ask them, what have you said no to recently? He wouldn't ask, what have you got done? He would ask, what have you done away with? What have you said no to recently? Because that ulterior focus and that determination on the one goal that they have, like, if it's the release of an iPhone, that's all they want to work towards. They don't want to be saying yes to all these other little things, which may seem like good opportunities or shiny objects, but it's going to detract from the one main goal they have, the one North Star they have. And so Steve Jobs, he was really adamant about people just saying no to stuff and cutting out distractions. And moreover, just deciding what you're going to be done with and putting aside things that aren't fulfilling you and getting you further along in your journey or towards your goal, and just getting rid of those off your plate. So the ADD principle as well, automate, delegate, delete. If you need to figure out what things you need to automate in your business, what things you need to delegate, and then what things you need to delete, and then just rinse and repeat that process. That's all business is. It's ADDing 24/7 all year round. Every year, I'm automating things, I'm delegating new things, and I'm deleting things as well. It's just this constant, perpetual cycle in business. And it's also a fitting name because all of us business owners are very ADD anyway, aren't we? But we need to be more ADD, okay? So number 2, decide what you're done with. And number 3, we need to be more of a calm operator, because that's real leadership. There's too many business owners that are running things in utter chaos. It's just every day is different. They have no structure. There's no discipline. There's no clear parameters for what their day is going to look like and how they want it to go. And they have no control over what happens. So the best operators I know, they aren't like that. They aren't really frantic leaders. They aren't like chaotic leaders. There's so many people will make it look like they're just living in like a controlled chaos, but they're really just like boring, calm, collected, and consistent. And this all comes back to like delegation, systems and frameworks and SOPs and just having that long-term mindset and delaying gratification and having emotional control, not letting emotions get in the way of business. Like how many times have I talked about on this podcast? Just the ability to put your emotions aside in business will further you so much more than almost anything else you can do. There's too many business owners now that let their emotions get in the way of them and overcome them and consume them. And it's their detriment in a lot of cases, in a lot of client conflicts, in a lot of employee conflicts, in a lot of self conflicts when they have doubt about themselves and they have these insecurities about what they're doing. And it comes back to this lack of emotional control. So we need to really consolidate ourselves and become the calm operator. So figuring out what things to delegate, figuring out what things to automate through frameworks and systems and SOPs, playing the long game as well, not just taking every day as it is, but having that long-term mindset, having these goals and having these milestones and these little steps along the way and structure and discipline for those goals. And so you have that long-term vision and mindset and mission rather than just playing it day by day, week by week, and hoping through you get each month, and then having that emotional control and that stability that's going to get you through all of that. And it's going to be the light and the guiding light through all of that. So number one, raise your standards. Number two, decide what you're done with. And number three, become the calm operator. This is a framework that I'm using for myself. This is a framework that I would use for my coaching clients. And it's a framework I would insist on for anyone listening to this. No matter what point of the journey you're on, we can all benefit from taking those principles and applying them to our lives and our businesses right now. And so, it is a new year. It's a time for change, but more importantly, it's just a time to reflect on what was good, what was bad, create some clear goals and some clear desired outcomes, and then harness those principles that we just talked about and really posture them in a way in your life that's going to direct you to these new goals and these desired outcomes. Because if you get to the end of the next year, whenever you're listening to this, the next 12 months, if you get to the end of that and you've got the same revenue and the same stress and the same problems, then what does that look like for you? Because if nothing changes, then nothing changes. Like if you have the same year this year that you did last year, you're going to feel the same way. You're going to feel maybe even worse because you didn't do any better. And fundamentally, nothing's going to change because nothing changed. Wow, go figure. But if one thing changes, everything can. That's like the catch-22. It's like it's a counterintuitive thing. It's like a paradoxical almost, where if nothing changes, nothing changes. But if one thing changes, everything can. Like what's that one domino that you can knock over? It's going to knock over so many others in its sequence and in its wake. That could change everything. There was a Mal Emery question that he used to ask, and he used to ask me this, and it was like a good mental exercise. And it was like, what's one thing in your business that seems impossible that if you were to do it or if you were to achieve it or change it, would change everything? And it's like that question just repackaged in like a more succinct and kind of powerful way. And I used to love that question. And it's something that can really get you thinking and, really, especially pondering things that you just never really would have, because it seems impossible. But then you start to think about it and you break it down and you reverse engineer it and you're like, hang on, what if I just did this and changed this? And then, oh my God, it actually seems like it's feasible now. It seems like I can actually do this now. And it's like, that's how you tackle these big hairy beasts in business. You don't just look at it for what it is, which is this massive, audacious goal or challenge or obstacle. You just have to break it down and chip away at it and reverse engineer it. And eventually you'll come up with this clear action plan and this clear goal to achieve the outcome that you want to get. And that's really all it is. So if nothing changes, nothing changes. But if you can just change one thing, it could change everything. So if we just raise our standards, if we decide what we're done with, and we become the calm operator through all of that, then that's how we can initiate that change and spark that change and that growth and everything that's going to follow that. So for the next quarter, or if you're at the start of the year listening to this now, for the Q1, just pick one focus and ignore the rest. Cut out all distraction. Think about what you need to say no to. Think about what things you need to cut out or get rid of. and just focus on one thing for the first quarter of the year or the next quarter of the year, and focus all of your time, your possibly money and energy into that, get it done, and then move on to the next one. And just do the boring things consistently, even when no one's watching. Because I know a lot of people love to post that they're doing the boring stuff consistently. Like they'll post like their routines and stuff on social media, but they don't actually stick to them. They'll do it like once or twice for like a video or a post, and then they don't actually do it. But there is a lot of power in actually just sticking to a consistent, boring routine and being that calm operator that has control and autonomy and structure in their life. There is a lot of merit in doing that. So don't just be like the social media guru or the influencer that wants to look like they're doing what they know they should be doing, but they aren't, which is also why they have a ton of followers, because they want to also feel like they're doing that and feel like they can do that and aspire to that, but just no one does it. And that's why no one succeeds. That's why a very small percentage of business owners do well. Just do the boring things. Just do them consistently and do them well, even when people aren't watching. And that's the secret. The secret is it's not a secret. You just have to do it and do it enough times, more times than most people are willing to do. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything for today. I wanted to put a podcast out. I was going to just take a little break from this, and especially because I get thrown off when I'm in a different environment and I don't have my setup. I was like, well, I'll just wait like a couple of weeks and, just wait till I'm back from Europe and things are settled and I'm back in my environment. But I'm like, no, I think the discipline of sticking to the upload schedule is more important than just like that, like just getting it done right. Like done is better than perfect. I always say that. So there's like things in my life that I do that I stick to because they just kind of feed into everything else I do, because I'm a big believer in how you do one thing is how you do everything. Like if you have chaos in the home, you're going to have chaos in the business. And even things like this podcast, if I'm sticking to this every week, even the days I don't want to do it, if I know that if I just do it and I get it out there, then I'm going to have that same attitude and that same motivation to other things in my business. And I'm going to have that discipline to do the things that maybe I don't want to do that day, but I know I should be doing or need to be doing. And then I get it done and I'm grateful for it. And I'm like, I'm glad I did that, even though it was like a little bit challenging or I was uncomfortable or I just didn't really want to do it. I just got it done. And then I have that attitude and I carry it forward to other things in the business. So yeah, I'm going to continue to enjoy Europe. I hope everyone listening to this, if you haven't been to Europe, you should experience it sometime. I'm not much of a traveler. Like I haven't really been many places in the world because I never really cared to. Like I was just kind of happy in my bubble in Australia. But like it's a whole different world out there, and wow, everyone should experience it sometime. So I'm really looking forward to Italy tonight. I'll probably post a lot of stuff on social media if you're interested in keeping up with that. Mainly just food. I'm a big foodie. I love my food. Oh man, the gyros I had in Greece, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but like Athens, I was not expecting Athens to have such good food. Like everywhere I went, just incredible stuff. Like really just sensational. I couldn't believe it. It's going to be really tough going back to Australia and eating the frankly very average food everywhere. Like even the nice restaurants, the nicest restaurant in Perth is like just the average Athens street food place. Like it's insane. But anyway, I'm very grateful to be in the position I am to be able to just travel and have my business operate in the background. And even while we're closed for the holidays, I've got a skeleton crew running that's paying for both myself and my manager to be away on holiday and enjoying ourselves and not having to worry about what's going on back there, because we've got the systems and the people and the delegation to be able to for it to just run smoothly. And I'm very grateful for that, but it's also because I took a lot of controlled action and a lot of steps, and I created frameworks and I had discipline and I had the systems and the structure. And it's because I did the boring stuff right and I did it consistently. So yeah, just remember this year or for the next 12 months, just set those 3 goals for yourself, those 3 principles that you're going to stick to and follow through with. Number 1, raise your standards. Number 2, decide what you're done with. Number 3, become the calm operator, because nothing changes if nothing changes. But if one thing changes, then it could change everything. So, it's you don't need a new year. You just need a new standard. I think that's like a good tagline for the episode. You don't need a new year. You just need a new standard. And if this year is the year you stop drifting, this could be the year where everything changes for you in a very, very big, massive way. For me, like it happened a couple of years ago where I wasn't drifting, but I wasn't disciplined in doing the things I knew I needed to do. And when I finally just did it, when I finally stepped out of my comfort zone, everything changed, which is there's a lot of power in that as well. Like a lot of people are disciplined at doing the things they like doing, but it's the things that they're uncomfortable doing and stepping out of their comfort zone. That's where they have their shortcomings, and that's where they're lacking. But if you step out of your comfort zone, if you take those controlled steps and those controlled actions and have that discipline, if you just do it long enough, then you beat everyone else who isn't willing to put in that effort, and you inevitably succeed. So this year changes if you do. Just be the catalyst for your own change and your own success. And sorry, I'm not sure if you just heard my phone is going crazy right now. But that being said, I'm going to end this episode off here. If you're listening to this around the time it's being uploaded, Happy New Year. If you're in the future, you can still listen to this episode and take the principles and apply it to any time of the year. It doesn't really matter. But it's obviously everyone likes the cute like New Year's resolutions and having that clean slate at the beginning of the calendar year. But if you're in business, we just operate perpetually. We don't care what the calendar is. We're just here in time. Okay, we're just living in the moment, and we don't care about what the calendar says, because we work 24/7, even if we're in Europe, enjoying ourselves. So thank you for listening to another episode of Self-Made. This is episode 102. It's a new year. It's going to be a new year full of growth, full of opportunity, full of excitement, and most importantly, a new you. But it's only going to be that if you take that action, and if you have that attitude and that mindset, and you just get it done. So be the change you want to see in your year, because you are the be all end all of yourself and your business. And that being said, we're going to end off here. So thank you so much for listening, and have an amazing year. Thank you so much.